Welcome to the AgBull podcast. Today's episode was filmed in Mayville, North Dakota. This show will be available on both audio and video. Today's guest is Mr. Jason Strand. Jason Strand is from Portland, North Dakota. Jason, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming down here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I remember bringing you down here a year ago, and you're like, oh, that's going to be great. When are you going to start? I say, about a month, and here we are a year later. 3 crop failures after that, and we're down here. Let's talk about, we got a lot of things we could talk about. Let's talk about farming. Let's talk about race car driving. We'll talk about family. We can talk about whatever. See, you're winning right now, so it's, we could go right into that.
Yeah, for now.
For now, yeah. Let's talk about farming. People will be watching this from all over the Midwest. We have some Canadian fans. We have fans all over. They don't realize they're fans, but they're going to be. When we talk about farming up in North Dakota, since I've known you for about 5 years, it's just never easy. Tell us about this spring? From last year, from the drought to this spring, what's it looking like now?
Every year is different. It's never easy. Last year we were super dry. We did stuff last spring that we hadn't done in years. I've never planted corn 3 inches deep just to get it in moisture. And this year we can hardly get it dried out enough to get it planted. And now there's moisture this spring that we've had, and we've had to work some fields 3 times just to get it planted. And now there's moisture underneath, and the wind has been blowing 40, 50 mile an hour, and we're getting soybeans sawed off by the sand and the dirt blowing, and we're reseeding as we speak today.
Thank you for coming on. You probably shouldn't be here.
That's all right. Joel can take care of it. We're just about done, but yeah, we've had to reseed about 800 acres of soybeans.
And when you talk to the guys you buy seed from, that's not uncommon. I mean,
no, it's not uncommon, but we don't like to do it, especially this late. I don't think I've ever planted soybeans this late ever in my career, but I'm not too terribly old.
Anything left anyone could plant? Or I knew some guys shooting in some barley, some edibles. Is it just done?
I don't know. It's all kind of a crapshoot now because it all depends on Mother Nature and when she's going to slam the door on us in the fall and throw that first frost, and just hope that it's not till November.
Yeah. Someone asked me today upon recording this, markets had a bad day. They said, "Do you think it's over?" I said, well, wait till the first frost warning in August, and you might see what potential these markets have. The American crop is in late in the Midwest up here. The Midwest guys where I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, we can get away with that. We will have a nice fall. Usually it'd be really odd to have a freeze. But Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana, Canada went in really, really late. Do you talk to any guys up there?
Yes, I got some good friends up there just south of Winnipeg, just kind of across the border there north of Langdon, and it's been a battle. Their crop, what is in, don't look good. They had problems with emergence.
Wheat, canola, where they
everything.
In. Yeah.
Corn, it's been a battle for them too all spring.
They went from that drought. I have always heard droughts could end quickly. I didn't believe it. They really can. 2-3 big rains, it's over.
Yeah.
And now we're all going to wish we had drain tile. Do you have a little drain tile in your ground? How'd that work out?
Great. We did a bunch of spot tiling a couple years ago, and I was just totally surprised with what it turned out this spring when it was wet, and that was some of the first stuff that we could go on. And what it does to the soil is it's great. It just makes it so much more mellow, and it's worth it.
When someone who sells tile tells you that, you think they're trying to sell tile, but when a farmer like yourself says, here's the deal, we got in that ground first, it was up first, it was this, and then when you have a wet spring like we did, now this is the kicker, and the tile guys taught me this, if we go from wet spring to drought, the tile will continue to help you because that crop rooted down. Like, how's tile going to help you in a drought? Well, a big difference if it has the shallow, panty roots or if it got down there. I was told from our friends in the tile industry that they think in 10 to 20 years, a lot of the Red River Valley will be tiled.
Oh, I believe that. And I think even myself, is more of a believer now too. And if a guy can afford it, I would definitely put tile on your ground and do better with what you have instead of trying to get more and more all the time. I would rather just put more money into the stuff I do have.
Yeah, you almost got to flip it and say, how can you afford not to have it?
Exactly.
So when price, I mean, obviously, if you knew prices were going to go crazy and there's going to be a war and droughts and everything else, but the cost of not having a crop this year is much greater. When COVID happened and corn went into the lower threes and we were wet up here, there was a huge motivation to say, this isn't our year, we're not going to get it in. But when corn has a upper 7 in front of it and the crop insurance level is much lower, you say, well, it's our job. The market was sending a signal to plant everything. And I think in some ways people will be pleasantly surprised what got planted up here. But after this weather last few days and weeks, I don't know that there could be much top end. I mean, the great 50, 60 bushel bean fields, I don't have a single client who thinks they could put up a number like that with this weather.
I don't know. I think right now, as we stand, I'd say we're maybe average at best, maybe an average crop.
Mm-hmm.
And it all depends on Mother Nature. If we get that early August frost, it's going to be ugly.
Mm-hmm. Probably worse for the corn.
I'd say worse for the corn and the beans too, because now, I mean, everything that's just gotten seeded, there's a lot of soybeans that have been seeded in the last 10 days.
And natural gas and propane's through the roof. That wouldn't be fun drying wet corn, not at all. But maybe that, let's not put any carts ahead. But when people do say, oh, the market's sold off, I'm like, well, I don't think this crop's made. You're still planting, others are still planting, and we got a long way to go to. And sometimes people say North Dakota doesn't matter. They just broke ground on was it a crushing plant down in Castleton?
Yep.
Yeah. And I would say when they talk about the cash markets being the worst in the country, that those days are over. With what you have going on here, with the great demand overseas and the people coming in and building bricks and mortar to actually use a North Dakota soybean here in North Dakota and create products out of it. Now, what they'll do with the meal, I don't know. Go to South Dakota. We don't have the animals here. Heck, a farmer up north sold their farm to allegedly a very successful man, and it's making all the papers. So corporate farming is not real popular up here. And
No.
when I see people like yourself, you are the epitome of a North Dakota farmer. You are an individual family farm. And I heard, allegedly, you're going to keep doing that, keep growing and expanding.
Yeah, I hope to, as long as things keep working out for us, I just want to keep doing it. That's what I love to do, and I don't want to live anywhere else.
Well, you and I have a picture on my phone. So for reference, one day, this is funny, we're laughing, this is not made up. It was cold, we're in the Ranger, and I said, if you could live anywhere, where would you live? And you said, right here. I said, I'm being serious. And you go, so am I. I go, oh, okay. And then that one time I came over to visit you, we caught that. Remember that crazy sunset?
Yeah.
I still have that on my screensaver. People think it's fake. When it lights up here and you get these sunsets, they're the, what do you call it, the green lights, the northern lights. You think you're on some type of super duper medication or something. You look up and you see that. If you didn't know you're going to have northern lights, you think like they're coming for you.
Oh, yeah.
It's impressive. Well, we are in Mayville, North Dakota. Mayville, for those watching, is located right between Fargo and Grand Forks. We've got a couple good universities there. Mayville has a good university itself. Well, you love farming. The other thing you love, Jason, is race car driving. And I've known you for 5 years. I don't know how you got into race car driving, if it was go-karts or I have a client who bought his son a go-kart, and now they're a couple million into it. So it could be an expensive habit. But what did you first race? A dirt bike? Where did you start?
I started out racing motocross. And I had a bunch of friends that raced cars, and dirt bikes are tough on you, especially.
Well, you could fall off. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard bikes in general are hard to ride.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get your foot out of the toe clip.
Yeah, especially if you have 10 speeds or not.
Yeah, well, the 10 speeds, they shouldn't allow anyone to have that.
Yeah.
That incident we're talking about, I've fallen like that 4 times. I have toe clips on my pedal bicycle, and I was telling Marcus today, when you take your left foot out, like the president did, and if you just lean a little to the right and that right foot's in there, You're done. You are 100%. I've fallen like that. The only difference was, I'm not at that level, so no one really cared. But when I did fall, the semi that saw me fall, he's honking his horn, and some lady's like, "You okay?" Like, I'm all right. I'm all right. So the dirt bike racing's a little dangerous.
Yeah.
You break anything?
Yeah, I actually, I only broke a collarbone, but
Oh, only just a collarbone?
I took a pretty big crash in Fargo at one of the races at the fairgrounds there, and I don't remember any of it, but ended up waking up in the hospital, and
You had a helmet on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you hit your head that
I had a
hard?
concussion and whatnot, and from what people told me, I was not very happy or very nice to the ambulance people because they were trying to cut my jersey off, and I wasn't happy about it. But I don't remember any of that. So.
Well,
My dad said I didn't know you knew that many swear words. So
you were just a little kid?
I was probably 18.
Yeah, well, at that point,
Yeah.
you know a few. Oh, Lord. Well, so motorbikes, and then how do you get up? Educate me. I mean, everyone, farmers listening know racing. They love racing. We go to Ada, we go to Fargo. But what's the most basic car, the cheapo 101? What's the most inexpensive way or the lowest class of dirt track racing?
Well, I got started in the street stock class. Just basically, there's nothing. I mean, nowadays there's a lot to the street stocks, but back when I started, I mean, there was just take a older car and put a roll cage in it and do some other modifications.
Like a Chevelle,
Yeah,
like the
I think I had a
Monte Carlo is what
yeah.
I think of
Yeah.
when I think of those. So you get an old Monte Carlo.
Yeah, and put a roll cage in it and seat belts and a good seat and put some tires on her. And
What do you think back then? I know costs of things have went up a ton the last few months, but back then, what do you think just to get involved in the sport cost?
back then,
Yeah, not now. Like tires are through the roof,
I think when I started, I probably had $3,000-4,000 into it, but I didn't own the motor.
I think a set of tires might cost you that now with what's happened here recently.
Yeah, and
you don't own the motor; you get a rental motor.
No, a friend of mine borrowed me a motor just to get started.
Okay.
Because I couldn't afford hardly anything back then. And that really got me going. I did that for a year.
You're always turning left.
Yeah, and the next year, then we moved up to the super stock class and tried that out for a couple of years, and that was interesting. I mean, there's a lot to learn. You got to know people that can help you. I mean, there's so much to it. I just know that I think the first night in Fargo, that was back when they had the big half mile.
Mhm.
There was a wall all the way around it.
Okay.
Well, first race there in the super stocks, first corner came up a lot faster than I was expecting, and I plowed right into the wall. I didn't even make it a lap the first night out.
You didn't. All right. Hopefully we don't edit this out because this is the good stuff. I did not know that.
So
you
then,
didn't make the first left turn?
No, I didn't. I just plowed right into the wall.
This is going to be a better show than I thought. So
then,
yeah, let's
after
get
that, we brought her home and got it fixed up. And
what'd your dad say to you? Good job?
I don't even know if he said anything.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, what could you say to
So
that?
then the car was in the shop at Lance's, and I think I came back one night that week to work on it, and they wrote in there inside my cockpit, turn left.
Yeah, well, that's
Just to remind me, and
yeah.
it was good. I mean, after racing there in Fargo for many years, I'm pretty sure I have hit about every piece of concrete all the way around. But by the end there, we were doing pretty good in the Midwest Mod.
Is that the level you race now? Or are you in that class or
No,
different class?
I went to the Midwest Mod, which is open wheel. I did that for a long time, and then I went to a modified.
I'm probably the only one watching this episode who needs to learn this, but that's okay.
All right.
My wife will watch too.
Yeah.
She'll be like, "Oh, dang, the modified, yeah."
And then we raced the modified for a while and did well in that. Had some success. Raced against a lot of veterans. I learned a ton.
Now is that where that gentleman I met? You said go say hi to him in Indiana, Donnie.
Oh yeah.
Would he be North Dakota's most famous racer?
Oh yeah. I'd say he's in the sprint cars. So There's a lot, there's a lot of guys that came out of North Dakota, there's a lot of people that have done it forever.
What's the furthest you've traveled? Like South Dakota?
To race?
Yeah.
I've raced in Arizona.
You have.
Yeah.
You trailered your car out to Arizona.
Yeah. That's when I raced for Larry O'Brien. We went down there one winter in January and raced the modified, and
It's amazing.
you learned a lot. You meet a lot of people.
Well, I imagine like anything else, if you want to get better at it, you're not going to get better at it racing a bunch of rum-dums who forget to turn left. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
you gotta, I mean, if you want to get better at anything.
It's and now I'm in the late model class. That was last year was my first year.
Promote yourself a little bit. How can people, I know you guys have a Facebook page and some other stuff.
Yeah, we got our Facebook page and our website, e85racing.org. The North
That's
Dakota
a neat sponsor.
Yeah, the North Dakota Corn Council, they've been a huge help. They've been with me for a long time. We got a lot of other sponsors, Sour Power Race Engines and Hatton Co-op, Millennium Chassis.
Maybe AgBull Media someday.
Yeah, maybe.
We're going to have to get a few more viewers.
Yeah, and, it takes a lot. But when you've been racing for a long time, you kind of collect a lot of stuff, and the year-to-year stuff isn't so terrible after you kind of get into it.
You start to get your own parts collection,
Yeah.
and the most expensive thing would be blowing a motor, I assume?
Yeah, motor. And
What do you think a nice new motor would cost today, like high prices?
yeah, probably in the mid-20s to, there's just so many different levels, you could buy a crate engine for 12,000-13,000 bucks, or you can buy an open motor for 30.
Mm-hmm. No, I'll say it's a little off subject, but a friend of mine just bought a small plane. It's old. It's like a 1958 or 59 Cessna.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking it's like 20, 30 grand. They're really expensive. Planes are incredibly expensive. And when they, what do you call it, where they have to go through the motor every 500, just to do that's 20-some thousand.
Oh,
to go
yeah.
through now, planes don't have the luxury of crashing in the wall and walking away like you do. But the price of engines and goods and tires, a friend of mine from Iowa, and correct me if I'm wrong, or him, he said, they're not racing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. They got rid of one day because the cost of tires and fuel so much just for the guys to show up to the race that they're just trying to condense more things. Is that something you've heard?
Oh, yeah, there's been a lot of guys now that probably race 3 nights a week that are down to one, just to get tires for the race car and for one is hard.
Like those tires, I'm from Indiana, and I see tires say Hoosier Tire.
Mm-hmm.
Are those
Yep.
from Indiana?
Yep.
What would a nice little set of Hoosier tires for your car cost?
Right now, like in Wissota, what I race is they've had a price lock with Hoosier.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still at like about 150, but that exact same tire in another division is 215.
How long will that tire last?
This is the last year on their contract, so.
No, but just how many races? Like,
Oh, the tire?
yeah, 1, 2.
Could one night, one heat race.
Oh,
or
okay.
One feature.
Yeah.
Could throw away 2 tires. I've been racing on last year's tires right now. I got a stockpile of new ones, but I'm trying to conserve, use up what I have, and hopefully when everybody else starts slowing down.
Your long tires.
That's when I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah. Now, I think, correct me, the left tire is smaller than the right tire.
Correct.
For my wife, it's all for Gina because she doesn't understand this stuff. How much smaller? You're always turning left.
Yeah, I would say the left rear is probably a 88-inch circumference, and the right rear would probably be a 92 to 93. So maybe 5 inches of stagger.
And then you order them. You get 2 lefts.
Yeah,
Or
you
the
can
front's
pick.
not so
There's
much. It's which tire has all the traction? The back left?
It depends on. It's kind of even, but
Which should be even. It's
yeah.
not always, right? You
Yeah.
adjust those sometimes.
yeah, the left rear is a lot of it. The left rear and the right front are the main. So
That makes sense. And then you hit the wall.
yeah,
I can't believe you told that story. That's good. This will get some views. That's wild. And then you just keep doing it. I know when I watch you race, I've watched you in Ada. I've watched you in Fargo. I didn't see in Devil's Lake. Where else Is there a track in Aberdeen?
There is. We race in Grand Forks now.
Oh yeah, I've
right
never
ahead.
been there.
Yeah.
Also, what's your favorite track to race at?
Probably an Ada.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say that's my home track, and that's probably the.
I remember that time a year or two ago. You lost by like an inch. I'm like, what are you doing? I come all the way to see you here, and you couldn't hit the gas. And then one time, I don't think it was it. Was it that same night where you lightly bumped that guy, and then everything got nuts, and people in the crowd were like, he bumped him, and you're like, no, you don't understand what happened that night when he didn't get hurt, but it did create a little bit of a accident, and they said you started it. But did you have something breaking? You're trying to.
Oh, that was at the actually the pitman arm fell off the steering.
Yeah, yeah.
So I lost all my steering.
Right. So people think you're like, smacking into people. No, no, not on purpose. But this time you said, we're lucky that's all that happened.
Yeah, yeah. I came out of turn 2, and all of a sudden the wheel wasn't doing anything. I was turning it, but it wasn't going anywhere. And when you let go of the wheel on those cars, they turn left. So I started turning into the infield, and all I could do was step on the brakes. And the guy took his right rear and hopped over my left front, and he ended up.
He went flying.
Yeah, he ended up barrel rolling down the.
And the
back
crowd
stretch.
was like, "That's Strand. That was rookie." Well, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I remember your wife was texting me, "Is he okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, he seems all right. No, no more foggier than normal." Still recovering from the original BMX thing. Well, what comes next? I mean, is this probably the highest level? I can't imagine. And what's the next level, or you just get better at what you're doing?
I think I'm just gonna try and keep getting better at where I'm at. I feel like the late model is probably the highest as that I could go. There's a national level, but that's out of my league, and you race against those guys. Those are, I mean, if you want to get better, that's who you're going to go race against. But those guys do it for a living,
right?
And they have.
And you're still planting beans here on June 20th.
I'm just a part timer.
Yeah, summer solstice. Well, the cool thing about being up here, I tried to go to bed early last night, and it stays light till like 11. Tonight is the longest first day of summer. My daughter's birthday. Happy birthday, young lady.
Happy
She's
birthday.
not so young anymore. They get it. They get old quick. Tell us about your kids. Your wife, your kids.
Yeah, my wife, Krista, and I got 3 kids. The oldest is a boy, and I got a middle girl, and the youngest is a boy. So 9, 7, and 3.
Hopefully they like farming.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think we got one farmer in there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The talk real quick about young farmers. This area is missing young farmers. There's doesn't seem like it. People would never think that. I know an incredible amount of men who, like your father's age, 68, 70, 72. You think you're going to farm for a long time. You start having health issues. What is the future of agriculture up here? Young guys like yourself just getting bigger and better. I think the better, as we discussed with the drain tile, is very important. I don't know about the bigger. I mean, if you can't get it all in a timely fashion, and as I've known also people not to be able to get the crop out, is bigger better here in North Dakota, or do we need to get back in the bushel business and get in, get out, and say, yeah, I'm not the biggest farmer, but I'm still not. It's Christmas, and I got to see my family. I'm not ripping off corn, right?
Yeah. I think, there's a lot of guys that are on the edge and there's a lot of guys that have retired in the last couple of years. Somebody's got to farm it. Some of the guys just keep getting bigger, and some younger guys get some opportunities.
And we don't have that corporate farming.
Yeah, I hope.
I mean, the politics of it. I remember when the bill first got submitted to do it, and it got voted down. I was like, why wouldn't they want corporations? I imagine over time it's coming, but in general, it's just the epitome of the family farm.
Yeah, I mean, I want it to stay family farms. People make a living off of it, and they take pride in what they do, and that I don't really see that in corporate. I mean, in corporate, all they see is the numbers and what we can make, and I don't really care who we're going to hurt or what small towns along the way we're going to not bring our grain to or not buy our inputs from. To me, I still like to do a lot of local business. Just great for the community.
Yeah, I remember. It's a silly story, but it's not. We did a marketing meeting, and I was going to go up to Grand Forks to buy sandwiches, and I was like almost tackled. No, you have to get those from Subway in town. You can't let that business leave. And I knew that, but I didn't realize the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
That if the local business owner's like, well, what's going on down there that there's 50 people at? I didn't order any food.
Mm.
And if the dollars leave, one thing about the dollars, Tom here from the bank, something happened during COVID where tax revenue went up. And if you think about it, you'd be like, how could tax revenue go up? All the businesses were shut. But Amazon collects taxes and sends it to the community. So the tax revenue during COVID for a month or two during March exploded around here. And when you think that, are people not going to your local store or local place to buy goods, or sometimes these places close, right? And where are we going to buy stuff around here? I know at my house I live on a cul-de-sac. If that Amazon it's like a van. If it doesn't spin around my cul-de-sac 5 times a day, and the FedEx truck and the UPS truck, and I don't know what we're all ordering. And in a positive way, when we built the studio, I needed parts. I'm like, where am I going to get this? And I'm sitting here on a Saturday at 9 thinking about something. I sit down and I click, and it's here on Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little metric bolt. I'm like, oh, wow. How'd that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Where was that bolt sitting? In Fargo, Jason, we have that Amazon distribution center. And when I see big buildings like that come up, I'm like, well, things are changing. For as much as you don't want things to change, you see them pour concrete for 3 months straight just for the slab. Things are changing. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I have noticed, though, in town, much like people had asked me, why'd you start a podcast in the middle of nowhere? I say, I think that's the goal, right? If you build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
I asked you, could you be here? You're like, yeah. I got plant beans. Yeah, they'll be there. I'll get them. They're a little late. What's a few more hours? I'll get them in. But I appreciate you coming down. And I think there is a interesting story. I watch Real Agriculture. It's a big Canadian group, and that's my only source of really finding out about agriculture in Canada. And I watch their videos and I listen to their podcasts, and I'd like to meet more people up there, but COVID shut everything down. And there's just so many different ways of, I really was never even that much into podcasting or listening until COVID happened. And I just wanted to get information and just listen to stuff. I recently found out there's a gal in Indiana has one of the most successful podcasts ever, and it's about murders. And every week she tells about a different murder, and she has tens and tens of millions of downloads. And she just started a year and a half ago. I don't think we'll have that many downloads, but the Wall story might get a couple of hits. There's a whole world out there, and I think podcasting brings it to you. Now, what people listening to this don't realize maybe is that we're filming this also. And that, I don't know why, and I don't know about you, I like watching stuff. I like watching YouTube. Mm-hmm. And it could be someone falling off a bike. It could be anything. It could be auto racing. It could be markets. It could be the marketing shows. My kids' sports around here. Sometimes I'll be all the way home in Indiana, and I could watch Mayport or Mayville. That you could watch the universe. You could be just somewhere else, and you're like, oh, look at this. I'm watching the game. This is great. And it's fun. You don't always have to be there to watch it. And the world's changed. YouTube is, there's some. Do you have any? Do you watch any farm shows or farm people on YouTube?
I don't watch YouTube a whole lot, I guess. I like to live stream a lot. There's a race on just about every day of the week. Some days
you could just pop that on.
Yeah, and I watch it on the iPad and the tractor. Put it on the sound. And
well, my friends in Iowa who like auto racing watch you because I had sponsored something, and they said, hey, I'm watching the race in North Dakota, and I just saw your sponsor. I'm like, well, why are you in Iowa watching North Dakota? Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just they love it.
Yeah,
it's a big sport. I wonder...
dirt track racing is probably the biggest sport in, as far as people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just huge. And
well,
now everything has turned into live streaming, so you can almost watch any race.
I never really
across
thought
the
of that.
country. And so if you know somebody that's racing, I got a good buddy in Ames, Iowa, and I watch him almost all the time. And if I can't watch it live, I'll watch the replay.
And that young man I was talking about is by Ames, Iowa, and he's watching you guys.
Oh, okay.
That's why. Did NASCAR start off dirt track racing? I mean, the
Yeah.
original down south,
Yeah.
way down there. Yeah. Do you ever go to? Maybe we can go together. I'd like to go to Bristol.
Yeah.
You've been there?
I've never been there.
That's the short half mile. They turn left a lot
Yeah.
there, really quick.
They actually, in the last 2 years now, they've had dirt on there to race some dirt cars. So it's
Okay.
been really fun to watch that. And then they tear it all off and
Mhm.
race the cars on there again.
I will say, by where I live, the Indianapolis 500. I've been there a bunch of times, but once the planes fly over and you go through all the hoopla, it gets so I can't see the cars. It's so loud and they're so fast. Once it starts, I think I got to watch it from home, and I like the whoever wins drinks some milk at the end. But the Indy race too fast.
Yeah.
I like what you do.
I don't watch hardly any of that, and NASCAR too is tough to watch because it just gets so strung out. And but I'll spend hours watching dirt track racing because there's always something going on.
I love it. I love it. Let's wrap it up here in a little bit. But you, Jason, are someone who I think is an optimist, whether it be as a father, a husband, obviously a farmer. You are. A lot of people look up to you in the community, not for that of like all the maybe he did this, he did that. It's how you take it. You are a guy who can get punched, and you come back up, and you kind of come back up smiling and laughing. I don't know if it's what that is about you. Where'd you get that? That's a great quality. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My whole life, it's just, I've done a lot of things where I learn on my own. Like when I was a little kid, I know my mom and dad caught me in the garage, and I had my dirt bike in pieces. And just,
They were happy about that.
what are you doing? And are you gonna get that back together? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go back together.
Just for YouTube videos.
There
on
might
how
be
to do
some
it.
extra parts, but it'll get back together. It just, and I've had a lot of great mentors. My dad, Jim, the people that I worked for. And when I was younger, my brother was back at the farm, and my dad didn't have enough work for me, so I went out and worked for other farmers, and I learned a ton. You just pick up on that, and there's a lot of other people that teach you a lot of things.
I hear you can learn a lot if you're not speaking, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I hear you can learn a lot. Yeah, I like to speak. Well,
I learned how to do everything, welding, manufacturing, just brainstorming in your head all the time of what you can do to modify things, make things better. It just, there's a lot of things that a guy can do just to keep busy, and it's fun to do those things. It's kind of like a challenge, and
mhm.
I kind of look at everything in life as a challenge. If someone tells me I can't do it, I'm going to sure try.
Yeah, I like that. I like that attitude. It would do no good to think any other way. But the Mother Nature's cruel up here.
Oh yeah,
She's large and in charge, and
she always has the final say. But
yeah, you could do everything right and still have a problem, and it makes you wonder how much are we in control versus. Imagine that's where people get their faith from. Because who would do this, right? Who would spend all that money, put it in the ground to watch the wind just saw it off and say, well, let's try that again.
yeah,
To have it happen again. And we have crop insurance, but it's emotionally, I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine how it tugs at your heart.
like this year especially, it's tough. This with the commodity prices where they're at. This is if you bought all your inputs last year at kind of a lower cost. This is a year to hit a home run, and
Mm-hmm.
every day that we go out there and the wind's blowing and the beans are, dying, and it just gets frustrating because, your chance of that home run that comes along probably
Every 15 years?
yeah, maybe.
Once or twice?
I've
twice?
never had it. So,
How many years have you been farming?
probably just over 20. I was
Okay.
really small for a long time, and until my dad retired, and, it's probably been 4 or 5 years now where I've
Mm-hmm.
farmed what he had, and I just have never had that opportunity to really.
Yeah, big bushels, big price.
Yes, it's never ever
Right.
all happened in one year. It's always a crop failure here and home run on this crop, but and then a crappy price, or
Yeah, I've seen you do some things. So you built some bins, bushels, bins, and bases. It'll get you a long way.
yes, they will.
Yes, it will. You think we'll do this again sometime?
Absolutely.
All right, and maybe we could bring the cameras out sometime, and I can get some good footage of you out there winning. And we'll.
Sounds good.
I'm bullish agriculture. I know you are too. The way the markets were today, though, we might want to change that sign to Ag Bear, but we'll stick with AgBull. Well, everyone, that's a wrap for today. We had Jason Strand from Portland, North Dakota. He's a friend. He's a racer. He's a father. He's a lot of things. A lot of people look up to him. And I asked him to come down to the studio a year ago. I said, we'll have you on right away. He's like, sure you will. And we did. So my name's Tommy Grisafi, and I'm bullish agriculture.